All right. To those of you who are here and those of you watching online, welcome to Searching in Verso. We're going to spend about an hour going through um, the most helpful things that I have found for searching in Verso. I want to start by acknowledging that it's not Google. I don't think anybody expects it to be, but there's no library ILS that will work the same as Google or even an Amazon search. It just doesn't quite work that way because of how information is input into the system and how it holds that information. And we also do not have an AI element helping try and figure out what you mean. So I have found lots of great ways to improve my experience searching for the materials I'm looking for in Verso, and we're going to go through them right now. Um, to start, I think the most important thing is to start broad and narrow it down as you go rather than starting with a very, very specific, especially subject. If you have a title, usually you can type the title in and it's going to be fine, or an author. But if you're just searching for a topic or a subject, or an idea, starting broad is the easiest way. And that goes even for things like something that comes in multiple formats, like Matilda. You could get it in book, audiobook, DVD. If you just type Matilda, you can narrow down that format easier than if you try and find just that specific thing first. So, my next tip is to always check your spelling or make sure that your titles and authors are correct. Sometimes a patron will say, I want this book by this person, but the author is wrong, or the title isn't quite what they're saying it is. And so if you are not having any luck, maybe doing a Google search or an Amazon search for that title to get the correct spelling or the correct author name will help you find it. Next up, always search Verso first and not WSCAT. So if you don't find it right away, do a couple different ways of searching before you try and get it through ILL. Remember that you can turn off overdrive and digital materials when you're searching. So if that annoys you, if it's in the way and you know you're only looking for a physical material, you can turn those off so you don't even see them in your search results. And last but not least, the facets on the left side of the screen are your friends. And that's what I meant by starting broad and narrowing as you go. If you start with an all headings search, you can narrow down by format, by subject, by title, by author, by all kinds of stuff by using the left-hand side of your screen as you go. So, before I get too much further, does everybody see the whole screen or is there a menu bar in the way of anything at the bottom?
The whole screen is visible.
Perfect. That's what I like to hear. Um, so this is just kind of a tour of Verso. It's a review for most of you, I'm sure, but if this helps even one person, um, then it's worth it. So the search term or the parameter starts at that quick search bar on the top of your Verso screen. Most libraries have that set to all headings or keyword, maybe, is the other word for all headings. The next thing up is the resource selection menu that I refer to as pancakes. And so you'll hear me talk about the pancakes a lot. That is where you can select resources. This is where you would turn off your Libby or Overdrive resources if you don't want to see those in your results. It's also where you would turn on all of your ILL resources if you're searching wider than just SWLS. And then, of course, the quick search bar is there and the search button. Um, and then at the end of that screen, there is like an advanced search button where you'll have more opportunities to narrow down ahead of time, search just your collection rather than the whole SWLS, um, and look by material type, things like that. You'll also see the children's catalog. For those of you who have that turned on, it looks like a hot air balloon. Some libraries do not have it turned on at all. And the same goes for the browse search, which is that magnifying glass over 3 encyclopedias or that's what I assume they are. Browse search only works within your library because when you type in a search and find a material, you can browse based on call number. So depending on how your call numbers work in your library, it may work great and it may not work great, but it limits automatically to just your collection. You'll see that your account is there and you can set some preferences about things in that account. Patrons will see items out, items on hold, things like that as well. If you create lists of materials, you'll see that there in the top corner, as well as the heart that gives you a quick link menu, and that's the control buttons that you use to navigate your staff dashboard. And then there's also an option to set alerts. So if you wanted to set alerts for authors or subjects when new materials get added to the collection, you can set them in the alert section and see what you have set. Patrons use these if they're like wild about a specific author or if homeschoolers are looking for new materials on a specific subject, things like that. A few more things when we get to search results. Remember that in that top left corner before you get to the facets, you'll see a toggle that can limit your results to items that are available right now. Um, Now, if you are searching in your own collection and you click this available now, the available means that there is an item available. It's not necessarily your item that is available. So you have to be careful about how you use that or how you talk to patrons about it. So if we're looking at Game of Thrones and you wanted, um, if you limited your search to Game of Thrones in your library, but then you click the available button, it will show all of the results, even if the copy that's available is not your copy. So you still have to kind of look at that search result and make sure it's the one you're looking for or that your copy is available before you get too excited, I guess. Um, some things that get overlooked pretty often are the relevance sorting. So you can sort your search results. Most libraries have them by relevance as a default. Um, but you can also sort by author or title or date, ascending or descending. Descending is the one that gives you um, in date, newest to oldest. So you want date descending. And then author and title, that would just be alphabetical, and you could have it, you know, A to Z or Z to A. Um, you can also choose how many search results show up before you have to click to the next page. To me, it doesn't really matter. It might slow down your, the load if you make it too big. I think it goes up to 100. You can also modify a search without starting over by clicking Modify Search, and that will take you to the advanced search screen where you can add parameters or change them. And then the last thing, that top right corner, right now you see a waffle. And yes, I'm going to call it a waffle. And that is to change the view of your search results from list view to, I don't remember what it's called. Gallery view. I'm sorry, gallery view. Or if it's in gallery view, you'll see three lines, which I would call a hamburger, and that would change it back to list view. So if your library always does gallery view, but you have a hard time looking at that, you can change it every time for yourself to list view. Or if you are more accustomed to searching gallery view, you can change it there. In my experience, patrons tend to like the gallery view better. Myself as a staff member, I would prefer to look at it in list view, top down, one at a time. You get a little bit more information on the brief results screens in list view than you do in gallery view. Um, so that's just why I prefer it, I guess. Any questions so far? All right. If not, we will move on to talk a little bit about the facets. For those of you who don't recognize some of the words down the left side, this is a list of some of the facets that are in all of our libraries, but we have a lot of control over them. So some libraries have renamed a few of these to make them easier for both staff and patrons to understand what they're talking about. Um, so facility, which most libraries call it facility, a few libraries have changed the name of that one to owning library. That is where in SWLS that item is held. So which library in SWLS that item is held. So you can limit it to just the library you're in or just the library that the patron is maybe looking for to see what's available there. Location is where inside the library the item is shelved. So it would be like the collection name. And the collection names vary from library to library, so that can be a pretty long list to narrow it down by. And you'll have to make sure that if you're looking for juvenile fiction, you find all of the variants of that. Otherwise, you'll be missing some items. Libraries is which catalog an item is found. It's useful if you're doing a WSCAT search, but if you're just searching VERSO for SWLS materials, that one doesn't really do any good. You can turn off the Libby or Overdrive results from there if you didn't do it before you started the search.
Jen,
Yes.
this is Sarah. I have a question.
Hmm.
I don't have facility on my left-hand side, and I
Oh,
don't know how to add that. Can you tell me how?
we will get there. I'd be happy to show
Oh,
you
okay.
how. Yes, that's a
Okay.
really great question.
Thank
Um,
you.
and there might be other ones on here that you're not seeing that I have because you can turn them on and off, any of them. So there's a lot of them that we turn off that are like reading levels and things like that that don't do a lot of good. But you can definitely go through and decide which things and which order they fall in, honestly. So we will get to that in just a minute. And that'll be really helpful to those of you who have the authority to make those changes to your own catalog. And I would say if you are not a director, I would maybe talk to your director before just making that change because it is universal within your library. So if you make the change, all of your staff are going to see the same thing. So, um, what else do I want? Oh, the difference between format and material type is really important. Format is what the bib record calls an item. So there are a very limited number of things that we put in the bib record. So it would be like book, large print, audiobook, kit, 3D object, things like that. So that is not what you decide to call an item. A format is part of the OCLC record or part of the MARC record that Ed makes, um, and it's pretty strict. Material type is what a library calls an item, and that doesn't always match the format exactly. And that's because there's lots more material types than there are formats in the catalog. For example, like all of our Spanish language collection materials have a different material type for each bin, or our large print collections, there's a material type for every one of those. There's also the difference between digital audiobook and book on CD and book on cassette, whereas those are all audiobooks, right? They're all different kinds. And so there's all different kinds of material types. So you'll have to be careful about limiting by material type if you want what another library calls it. It might be different than what you call it. So, but it's good to know the difference between format and material type. So here, Sarah, is where we're going to learn how to set up public catalog search results if you have permission to do so. The first section in UX admin. So you have to have UX admin permissions. Most of you probably do. If you don't, but you are authorized to have it, I can help you set that up. Under UX admin and settings, which is the only option in UX admin, there is a search and results tab. And you will go to that and you'll see a whole bunch of different options. And we're going to go through each of them. First up is the quick search one. And this is simply like what you want the default to be in your quick search bar at the top of your Verso screen. So what's appearing all the time for your patrons, for your staff. Most of you probably have the default, which is all headings as your default search index. Some of you might have title as the, default search index, but you can set that yourself. And you can allow people to change it, turn it like you can let the selector be there or not be there, depending. I don't know why you wouldn't want it to be there, to be completely honest. But you can set it separately for patrons and for staff. Next up are the pancakes, which is the resource selector. If you don't have WSCAT, or if you don't want your patrons to be able to mess with that, you can make that disappear for them. But I think it's important for you to have it, at least for staff, so that you can toggle the Libby results on and off. And if you have WSCAT or SIL, that you can do a search that way. So you can turn it on and off. I wouldn't recommend it. The other thing that it has here that some libraries maybe didn't realize was an option is that type ahead, where when you start typing, it tries to guess. You can turn it on or off. If you don't want Verso to guess what you're typing, you can turn it off for yourself or for your patrons, whatever you choose. Um, so those are some of the really simple things that we can change. Now let's go to the most important one, which is search results view. And this is like a mess. This is a mess of a page. I'm not gonna lie. It just looks so confusing. I don't know why it's set up this way. It's weird. So the first one in that top left corner of my screen is the default results view. Do you want it to be a gallery or where you see all the book covers, or do you want it to be list view where it's one at a time down the page? For us in SWLS, we have everything as list view. There are a lot of libraries that do gallery view, at least for patrons. It's up to you, whatever you choose. Remember that when you do a search, you can still toggle it to whatever you want it to be in that top right corner. So there's still a way out if you personally hate it, even though everybody else loves it. You can have the ability to print for staff and patrons. You can turn off jacket art. I don't know why you would, but I guess you could turn off jacket art. You could turn off the see more from, which is just some suggestions at the bottom of your full results page. You can enable the search highlight, which is kind of cool. Some libraries have the search highlight on or off, so it shows where in the record their search term shows up. And it's up to you if you want that to happen or not. You can allow the grouping options to change, so you can change how things are grouped. And we're going to talk a little bit about grouped here in a second. And then you can change the facet sequence. So in those facets on the left-hand side of your screen, you can choose how they're sorted. You can either choose by number of titles, so most to least, or you can choose the results to be alphabetical. So it's up to you, but it's universal for your Verso. So once you decide, all the facets go that way. I would love it if like I could have the facility bit alphabetical, but the number of titles for authors be, you know, I wish there was a little more customization, but um, we have it as number of titles because I want the results with the most answers to be at the top and then descend from there. You can choose alphabetical. It's up to you. Now, the things at the bottom of the screen, the default results grouping for patrons and staff. I have a recommendation that you do not use clustered, because anything with the same author and title will get clustered into a single entry. And that is really confusing because all of the different formats are put together. The big books are stuck in there, and it doesn't matter what the publication date is. So all of the different versions are stuffed together, and it's kind of a mess. Um, Merged will give you anything with the same author, title, and publication date together into a single entry. I know several of you have this as your choice for search results. No grouping means that every single bib item is its own record. This is my preference because it means that you're looking at the item you think you're looking at right off the bat. It's less likely to create errors when you're adding materials if you're doing it from the catalog, because you can verify very quickly that you're looking at the right item. Um, so that's my personal preference is no grouping, at least for staff. But if you're used to the merged view and you're careful about how you add materials and that's your preference, that's why there are options. And that's why each library gets to decide for themselves what works best for them. You can also choose your default sort, like how the results show up. Date descending seems to be the most common because a lot of times you're looking for the newest thing. You're looking for the most recent James Patterson, which is like a problem. Or the most recent version of the movie, the newest one, if it's a remake or something like that. But you can choose a different way to sort those results if you want to. And again, you can change for patrons and for staff. Sarah, does this answer your question?
Yes, this is so helpful. I have not done any of this, so that's like light bulbs going off. Thank you.
Perfect. I will say that most libraries set this up in 2012 when we got Verso and never thought about it again. And now there's been turnover, and the people who have come in just kind of inherited those decisions and never thought about the fact that they are decisions and not just the way it works. So this might help make search easier or better for some of you if you have a different preference.
I have another question. So we have the main circulation computer and the staff circulation. Do they usually have the um, same stuff? I can't think
Yes.
of the. Yeah. Okay.
Yes. So once you make these decisions, it will be true for any staff login for your Verso.
Okay. Thank you.
So, yep, these are universal decisions that affect everybody, not like everybody in your library, not just your own login. So next up, Sarah, this is where you would check or uncheck the facets that you want to appear on the left-hand side. Um, You can set the facets differently for patrons and guests and for staff. This is one of the ones that I suggest you do that because you might care about different parameters than the public will care about. You might care more about format. You might care about owning library or facility. You might not care at all about publisher or reading counts or whatever. You can reduce the clutter for your public. Um, if you don't have WSCAT, definitely turn off library so that they can't try and get into the WSCAT resources, right? Um, so you can look through here and decide what you want or don't want for your patrons and for your staff. And you might want for staff these to be in a different order than you might want for your patrons. So this is really, really useful. And how you do it is the check mark obviously is on or off. And then to reorder them, you grab that little cross arrow thing and you drag it up or down, and you just drag them into the order you want them to be on the left-hand side of your screen. And remember to hit submit at the bottom before you leave this screen. Otherwise, it's not going to save.
Okay, that makes sense to me. I'm just wondering, I don't see owning library as an option on ours.
It probably says facility
Oh, it does. Okay, I see that.
because that's the default. So you see here where facility and owning library say the same thing, like they're in the same box. That is because we renamed facility to
Oh,
owning
okay.
library. So
That
owning
makes
library is what's showing up in Verso. Facility is what Verso calls it. And like here, we call it format, but Verso calls it medium. And that makes no sense to us. So we changed the name. Um, so let's see. I'm gonna see. Yes, we will get to. No, never mind. So yeah, we should be able to rename these. Um, and I don't know if it's here. Anyway, if you want to rename them to be more useful, I can help you with that as well.
it's pretty easy. I just went in, I put my cursor in there and changed the
Oh,
name.
perfect. Yes.
Yeah.
So you could call it something really unhinged and hilarious if you wanted, but remember that everybody sees it, not just you. Um, all right. So next up is the next thing in that UX admin search and results menu. And this is where in the full record, you choose what shows up at the top of the screen. So most libraries want where to find it first, or the details first and where to find it second. Um, where to find it is the list of libraries with that item and what their statuses are. And so for us, that's the thing we care most about. Like, this is the item I want. So I click on it, it goes to the full record and it shows me where it is. And then if I scroll down, it's got the details about the item. So the kind of wordy version of the record. Um, you can choose to display or not display the MARC record itself. I find it helpful because I understand it. I know Ed finds it helpful because he does it. So being able to just look at it is good. You can have display more about this title, Goodreads reviews, and shelf browse if it's an option in your library. And you can turn those off if you want it to be less clutter. Now, this one, it's for both you and your patrons. So this is for everybody if they're searching in your catalog. Um, so don't turn off something that you might want or your patrons might want. And again, you can rename these if it's like confusing to you. All right, next up, I believe this is the advanced search. And again, you can change the order of the search qualifiers if you want to. Um, you can label the filter tab something different if you want to. I don't know what would be better, like narrow down your search or something. But um, then the three search boxes, you can default them to whatever you want. So in our Verso at SWLS, we do a lot of barcode searching. And so my first advanced search is item barcode. That is probably not going to be the one that you choose because you are likely going to need it to be useful to your patrons. Um, and they likely won't be searching by item barcode. They'll likely be searching by title or author or all headings or subject. And the drop down exists no matter what, so they can change it, but the default is whatever you're choosing here. So it'll default to be, I would say, all headings or title or author or subject. Those are the most common ones that you might want to default things to. And again, you can enable the type ahead option if you want. All right, I'm going to have to get out of this. And let's go to Verso. And I've got a couple of them here that we can check out the differences of how things display. Um, because it makes a huge difference in your experience. So again, here's the resources, the pancakes, and to turn off those Libby books, you just uncheck it. And now none of the ebooks are going to show up. And that's going to speed up your physical material searches by half already, just because that's not going to be cluttering up the screen as you go. So let's look at Matilda. It's my favorite search. I do it all the time. If we did a like a survey of what gets searched for the most often, Matilda would be it because I search it as a test all the time. Um, so now you can see my search results. I have owning library as the top one because that's usually what I care about, and I have them from most results to least results. But then I have all of these other facets. So the next one I use the most is format because I probably know what format I want the item in. I know I want a book or I know I want an audiobook. Um, and then I have it set to list view, but I can toggle it to gallery view anytime. And the
Jen,
reason, yes.
I'm sorry, it's Sarah again.
Mhm.
So when I search Matilda, I must have clicked on something in the other uh, pages that I'm getting my first look is the Penguin Book of Classic Children's Characters.
Ah, interesting.
And I don't know what I did to get that as my view.
Well,
And then I don't even see Matilda until I scroll way down. And
that
that's the movie, not the book.
is very interesting.
Yeah, I don't know. I must have clicked something funny.
Well, let's take a look together. So I'm just doing the same all heading search for Matilda. And that is not what I'm seeing. I still see the DVD first here and then the audiobook.
That's funny. I don't know. So Morgan's here with me and she's verifying.
Yeah,
that.
I
So,
believe you.
not the same thing.
I mean, it still gives me the same Platteville Public Library, like the owning library is up on the left and I see all the same numbers. But on the right, I'm getting,
Mine's the same as hers.
oh, and Morgan said on the other computer, it is the same as her.
Yeah, on the staff computer, mine looks like yours, but on Sarah's computer, it does not look like yours.
All
So I don't-
right. Did you perhaps change the sort to sort by
Sort
date
selection. Okay, let me go back to that. and
or
see. Giving you a live fix like okay, search results again and then the quick search. Is that what I want to go to?
I would just look at your screen and see what the sort right here in that top right corner, see
Oh,
what
yeah.
that says.
Go back to search it.
Oh, I have
Oh, yeah.
author. That's what it is. You're right.
Oh, yeah.
Yep.
Thank
So
you,
if
Janet.
this is different, they're going to show up really differently. Yep,
Okay.
absolutely.
Okay, thanks. That's helpful.
So I'm going to do the same one here. And we can see again, um, Hazel Green has theirs clustered right now, which is lumping. You can see now there's a Roald Dahl Matilda that has an audiobook, a book, and a large print all put together here because it's the same author and title. And then you would have to, if you click into it, you'll see the audiobook versions. There's two different versions here. And then you'll see the large print, and then you'll see actually a book that is a Spanish version of the book and a book that is the English version of the book. And then another book and another book and another book and another book. And they're all different versions of Matilda, different dates, different, publications of it. But it's taking the picture from the first one. So this is like one of those things that can be confusing if you don't know exactly what you're looking at. Whereas if we do this and we do format book, we're going to see the Spanish version on a separate record from the 2007 Puffin book, separate from the Scholastic 96 version, separate from the 1990 version, separate from the Viking Kestrel 88 version. So these are all different records. And you're looking at them one at a time. You can see the cover art of each one individually, etc. Do you see the difference? And again, because Hazel Green currently has it set to clustered, the nice thing that we have here is you can change it when you're in the middle of a search. And now you'll see that the audiobooks are different, and the books that have different publication dates don't show up together anymore. All right, so what questions do we have about searching?
There's one search thing that has always confused me.
Great, what is it?
Why is it if I have it set to all headings, it'll find everything except barcodes? When
Barcodes
barcode,
is not a bib record item. So a barcode is related to your item holding, but not the actual item itself. So all headings searches author, title, subject. Let's look in here and I can show you some of the things. It will give you anything out of author, title, publisher, date, summary, description, and subjects. So if the word is popping up in that summary or in the information about the item, it'll show up. But it can only pull things really from the bib record, not from your item record. Does that make sense?
yes, that does.
So an all heading search pulls like specific numbers out of the MARC record. And because barcode is not one of the MARC record items, it can't pull that. That's one of the limitations that is typical of library ILS systems. I'm sorry, that is a pet peeve of mine because ILS ends in system. Anyway, yeah, so there are some limitations to the search. It can't dynamic search both types of information at the same time. Someday, maybe. Today, not so much. And that's why barcode is its own, and item call number would be the exact same thing, and material type would be the exact same thing. That you would have to search those things specifically because those searches are looking at item holdings instead of bib record information. That was a really great question. Thank you. Who else has one? I already told you all the information and there's nothing else to learn. All right, then I am going to take a second and talk about WSCAT searching. WSCAT or SIL or interlibrary loan, all kind of interchangeable words for it's not in SWLS, so now what? And after you've searched in VERSO, so again, always search in VERSO first, then you can go to your pancakes, check all, which gives you all those other resources in the world, and then you can do a search. Does anybody have something that they know is not in VERSO that I can search for? No. If not, then I'm just going to search Matilda in um, WSCAT here. And now the most important thing about this type of search is to wait. Be patient, get up and walk away if you have to, but you have to wait for that searching additional resources to finish before you can move on. And the reason is because it's searching live hundreds of libraries across the state and across several states, really. And that takes a minute. So a lot of times you're going to have to just like kind of be patient and wait. Even if some stuff starts popping up, a lot of times more relevant stuff will pop up if you wait. So let's give it a second here.
I have also had the experience where while it's searching, I click on a record item and then I go back out and things pop up a little more quickly for me.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if that's anything anybody else has experienced, but I'm not very patient. So I click on things and then when I go back, it shows me all the things I'm looking for sometimes
Yes.
more
Yes.
readily.
All right. All right, so once that happens, then you can click Update. And give me just a second here. I'm going to have to mute myself. All right, sorry about that. So now you can see there's like 13,000 different versions. Owning library is nice to see because if anybody in SWLS does have it, you're going to see that, right? And then you go back and order it from us. But now it matters where you can find it. And there's going to be, for Matilda, like 9 billion of them. But the nice thing is we kind of know who's going to get to stuff the fastest. So I'm going to give you a couple places that you want to look for if you can. If you can get it from More, if you can get it from Share, Wisconsin Valley, South Central, Winding Rivers. Those are really great ideas. Those are library systems in Wisconsin, and they'll get you the stuff the fastest. Milwaukee is a library system in Wisconsin. They work differently, so they'll either be slower or say no. They'll get you stuff, but it's not your first choice. You really want to do like Winding Rivers is just to our north, and they will get us stuff probably the fastest. South Central gets us stuff very quickly. Wisconsin Valley, Northern Waters and Share and More Winnifox is on the east side of the state, and they'll get us stuff pretty quickly. Cafe and Manitowoc, Brown County can get us stuff, oops, pretty quickly.
Yeah, and we've had very good success with Milwaukee because we're often looking for DVDs for people, and Milwaukee comes very quickly for us
That's
anyway.
great. That's awesome.
Yeah.
So, yeah. So, again, I am going to do this. Wiscat Union Catalog seems like a really great choice, but it is made up mostly of standalone libraries and schools. So especially in the summer, those are real slow to get filled. It's worth it. If it's the only record out there, it is definitely worth it. Like if you find a record, even if only one person has it, or even if it seems like, oh, it's coming all the way from Minnesota, it's worth requesting. It's not like you should just skip it. It's just that if you have the choice, if there's tons of places with it, if you can grab a system from inside of Wisconsin, it'll just come faster than either Wiscat Union Catalog or, um, some of those other options. And we can see tons of Wiscat Union Catalog things because I did not narrow this down nearly enough. Let's look at just the DVDs. That'll narrow us down just a little bit faster here. But so like you see Concordia University has some and UW Platteville has some, but Winding Rivers is a public library and they've got 14 available right now. Minnesota Ramsey County Library has 2, and Minnesota is part of our delivery network, so they will get us stuff without having to go through the mail. So that's kind of a nice thing to remember as well, that Minnesota libraries, that's not going to come in the mail. That is part of our delivery network. So, all right. Any other questions about searching? We're not going to talk about like how to request items in ILL or anything like that. We'll do that a different time. But all right. And remember what we were talking about when we were looking at my slideshow is in this UX admin tab under settings. It's the second one here. It's search and results. And you can customize these things so that they work better for you. And hopefully that will help you have a better experience when you're searching. And again, if you don't have permission because you're not a director, talk to your director before you just start changing these things because it can be a huge difference in your experience.
Jen,
Mhm.
could you tell me how to change my default settings on resources? Because it's set to include UW catalogs and academic
Yeah.
catalogs, and I'd like to remove that.
Yes, absolutely.
Okay.
So that is not in UX admin. That is in
Oh,
PAC admin. And your search resources, there must be some that are checked by default. And we can change that. I don't know how long it's going to take because when we're sharing screens, sometimes things are real weird. So here is a list of all of your WSCAT resources, and you're looking for check marks in the default line, which is something you don't want to have a lot of. So did I just scroll past one? No. All right, so you see Southwest Wisconsin Library System. That's us. That should be a default. That should always be checked. But let's keep going and see. If we can find one. There's Libby, also a check. I don't see any other ones. So I don't see that any of your other ones are checked by default.
It's yours.
It's only on the sold admin computer, not on the staff computer, where it's been clicked or
Oh.
somehow it's showing up as having the option to search both UW catalogs and academic catalogs except UW.
Like these
So yeah,
are
those
checked
two
by
are
default.
also clicked as my default, and I've always wanted to unclick them. I mean, I do it when I'm doing my search, but if it were default not clicked, that would be nice.
Yes. So in your account, as a staff member, when you're in that sold admin or whatever, you should be able to go to your favorite resources and uncheck them and then save resources. Do you see that? Like right here? Your
Okay,
account,
I see that, Jen.
your favorite resources. You probably have these checked here. And now when I go here,
Yes.
they're
Okay,
going to be checked the next time I try and do a search.
thank you.
Like if I
It's
do,
only taken me 5 years to,
yeah,
thank you.
no problem. And again, that's probably something that you inherited that you had no idea was even an option. Um, so if you inherit a login, if it wasn't created for you, going through your account, um, you can change lots of different stuff about your experience. So for example, your default results, you use the library default, or you can change it for yourself personally. Um, Number of searches to save. I don't know that you want to save. Um, you could change the default full record tab for yourself. You could change the default advanced search indexes, the default scoping level. Library default is my recommendation for all of these things, but if you use VERSO differently than the rest of the staff at your library, um, like you're the person who does the acquisitions, you might want some of these to be different for your own login, and you can change them here. Um, the thing that I do the most is I change everybody's primary staff dashboard. So it's the first thing when you go to the dashboard. Like all the rest will fall in line the way they're going to fall in line, but you can choose what comes first. Um, so those preferences are one of the things that are really nice, but also it can be confusing if you didn't set them for yourself or didn't remember that it was an option to change. Does that make sense?
Yes, that is very helpful. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. Does anybody else have any questions? All right, everybody go to your own system computers and check your preferences and think about whether they're the ones you want them to be. Then remember that I'm always here to answer questions. I'm always here if you need a hand, and I'm happy to help anytime. This recording will be up on YouTube, so if you want other staff in your library to watch it, or if you need to review something that we did here today, it will be available to you. And if this is something that you need continuing ed credit for, you can talk to me or Kristen about whether it qualifies. And it depends on your personal situation. So that's a conversation we'll have to have. But thank you for joining. I appreciate it. and I hope that you have a great day.
Thank you.